We welcome now calling in Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd, represents District 9, which incorporates Lafayette and Panola counties. Hey, Senator, good to see you.
Good to see you. So sorry I couldn't be in studio. We have voting going on. So
Well,
I thought I would call you.
Yeah, I understand. I stuck my head in the news department, and our news director, J.T. Mitchell, was tuned in and listening to the activity there in the Senate. Right. We were listening to some debate about this ballot initiative measure, right? Senator David Parker's bill. What was the outcome, or is there any outcome?
Well, it is still being debated right now. I'm right outside the office, so you may hear a little interference. I'm multitasking here and keeping up with the debate. We've got some amendments being offered. I do think, though, from what we're hearing from everybody this morning is we know this is I think everybody's wanting the process, and so I think we'll see that. I'm predicting, I may be wrong, we'll see here in a few minutes, that even though people may disagree with certain segments or different parts of it, I think everybody wants to see this progress over to the House. So we'll kind of see what the fallout is here in a few minutes with the what kind of goes exactly into that, and then I'm sure the House will take it up and see what they want to add to it. So.
Yeah. Well, and then, of course, you guys will conference about this and try to sort out and reconcile the differences in the sort of sister measures that are coming from the House and the Senate. That's not unusual to have something like that, especially on, I think, such a high-profile matter as this. But we've tried this, 3 years now and hadn't been able to get anything done, so maybe this one will see some result.
I hope so. So I've always been a big proponent of it. I've been a big proponent that I believe that the people need an avenue of a way to petition and get legislation passed that they want to see passed. So, anyway, so I'm excited to see this debate happen here today.
So what about this other measure that has received much attention in the news, and that involves the Mississippi University for Women? I think even a proposal that would collapse it into Mississippi State University. They had some folks at the Capitol a couple of days ago, I think some MUW alumni that were on hand to kind of voice their concerns about this possible action.
Well, this was really interesting. This piece of legislation actually did not start in colleges and universities. This piece of legislation actually started in the Education Committee. There was legislation to move MSMS to the Mississippi State University because there had been a plan presented that needed, I think they were needing close to $80 million to kind of revamp and rehab a lot of the facilities that MSMS uses there at Columbus. Mississippi School for Math and Science is MSMS, by the way.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so that came about, and when some things kind of brought to light and that, I think the chairman thought that it might be it might be less costly, and it might be a lot of, they're already working with programs at Mississippi State University according to some of the things, and I think he thought it might be better housed at Mississippi State University. And then that happened with,
I'm sure you're listening to something going on there in the chamber.
I'm so sorry, y'all.
No problem.
Thank you. I apologize, y'all. I had to step out and vote for just a second.
Sure.
But anyway, so that's kind of how that process happened. And so when people were kind of doing that, I think the chairman, he looked at things and he let me know that he was going to bring a bill forth that morning that said he was going to make a proposal to merge the W and Mississippi State University in the Education Committee. So that's what came of it. Then he had an alternate motion yesterday, an amendment that would have just created a study committee. And one of the newspapers said, Senate kills legislation that would merge Mississippi State and the W. And that's not at all what his amendment said. It was really a study committee to see if it was feasible, if that was a good idea to merge the universities, and then also to look at a study committee on MSMS.
Okay.
So anyway, but that motion died. It is in a motion to reconsider today. I don't know if he plans on bringing that back up or not. But we've also passed, recently we passed in the legislature, it was a little bit of a heated debate, on something I'm very committed to, and I think I've mentioned on your show before, is a task force to look at our enrollment cliff in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
We know that we have a smaller population. Then we have a little bit of a declining population, but we also are scheduled to be impacted by that enrollment cliff, which will really hit its hardest starting in 25. And we had information that was presented to our committees, both universities and colleges in the House and Senate, had committee hearings on this, and it said that Mississippi was going to be hit in the South. It was going to, next to Virginia, we were going to be hit the hardest. And so this is particularly important when it comes to our regional universities, because we know that when you have situations like this, that oftentimes our regional universities are those that are hit the hardest. And so your research institutions seem to be able to withstand those issues, but we want to make sure, and we know that we've had some declining enrollments at many of our Mississippi universities, and particularly at our regionals. And so we wanted to we started asking the College Board for plans, what they're doing on this, and got some information. They gave me their 5-year strategic plan just the other day, but we're going to be working with them. But we also passed a task force with legislators that would particularly look at this in the Senate, and we'll send this to the House. And I think these task forces are so important because they let sunshine in the process. These task forces, we could do the same stuff and we could meet privately and we could do all of that. But when you have a task force, it's a public task force. And that means the public usually can have some input. They can provide public comment. But it also lets the legislators that are working on these particular issues really have these discussions in public so the public can hear what's being said. So I hope that the House takes that legislation up and that we can continue to work to help our universities and colleges make sure that they are doing things to survive this enrollment cliff. I looked at a recent statistic this morning that somebody had sent me. We've had, across the country, I think since the pandemic, or a little before the pandemic, we've had over 50 colleges and universities either merge or close. And those are not-for-profit and state institutions. So that's not like a for-profit or anything. So this is something that legislatures are looking at across the country. I think Connecticut is doing a task force. South Carolina is in the process of legislation that would do a task force. And so I think this is the best way for us to move forward and make sure that our universities are doing what they can and making sure that their mission is important. So in the debate the other day, I mean, it's really an efficiency task force looking at those metrics. And I think one of the opposition did not like my word. I repeatedly said, we are going to look at efficiencies. And he said, she's saying efficiencies so much here. But that's important. And so we want to make sure there's effective use of the taxpayer dollars, but there's also a strong IHL system so that our families have a strong place to send their youth and as they're going to college, and that we're putting Mississippians into the workforce. And that's really what it's all about. So we're pretty excited about that.
Senator Polk's bill that would have instructed the IHL to shutter 3 universities by some certain date in the future. I can't remember exactly when. That did not get any traction, but are we going to get perhaps a study committee for that purpose, or is this kind of related to this enrollment cliff issue?
Well, I think the enrollment cliff issue, because we put in there, we're going to look in that enrollment cliff legislation, we're going to look at everything from their graduation rates to their efficiencies to their even physical plants on campus, what their needs are. So it's a pretty comprehensive committee. And I think that's the first thing. We really haven't done that in quite some time here in Mississippi. And I think that's the first step to seeing what we need to do here in the state. So I think this will be a good way for us to look at it and study all the different aspects of it before anybody says close, merge, or whatever.
Okay.
We need to be having the conversations.
Well, we appreciate you calling in today, Senator. Sorry you got tied up, but certainly understand. I can hear the activity in the background there, and we're going to let you get back to the floor, get on to being a senator. So again, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Talk to you later.
Yep.
Okay.
We're coming
Bye-bye.
right back in the Element Wealth studio.